Hello, welcome to our very first cast of the Flipside of Tennessee. I'm your host, Brian McBride, and Communication Chair for the Shelby County Democratic Party. We will have regular broadcasts that cover elections, government, and community organizations. In this episode, I have Allan Creasy, who is running for Tennessee House District 97, and Jonathan Ealy, Executive Director of OutMemphis. First up is our conversation with Allan Creasy. All right, we're here with Allan Creasy. He's running for the Tennessee District
97.
97, and what does that cover?
Northern Cordova, bits of a whole lot of stuff just south of Highway 64. A good deal of Bartlett. In fact, we're in the Bartlett coordinated field office right now. Actually, about half a mile from where I grew up. And then has a little bit of Claire, Summer and Mendenhall area, and dips down into East Memphis by White Station High School.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start off by you telling everybody a little bit about yourself so they get to know you as a person more so than just that guy that's running for office. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, see, I was born in Memphis and, like I said, raised in Bartlett. I've had lived in Claire for quite a while now. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. I had an academic scholarship from the University of Memphis. But when I graduated from college, I realized what I really enjoyed doing was working in the restaurant industry, and always just enjoy the work. So I've been a restaurant manager and a bartender for I think almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Since I was about 16, 17, 18 years old, working in restaurants. Well, to be honest with you, what happened was, what's the stereotype about a bartender? We listen to people's problems, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got tired of telling someone when they were telling me about how they couldn't afford their health care, or how they weren't in the right district for good education for the kids, or they had taken a loan from a predatory lender and they were in a cycle of debt. I got tired of telling people, oh, that's awful, I wish I could do something about it. So a few years back, I started volunteering for local nonprofits, and so I'd show up with friends, and I had food donated, and refreshments donated, and donate my tip jar, invite as many folks as would come, and we were able to help out quite a few different nonprofits that way. But there's only so much that a nonprofit can do, right? And it's doing what government should do. And so I started volunteering for local candidates. I was a big part of a fundraiser for Steve Cohen. But then I started to knock on doors, and one of the candidates is right here, Mr. Dwayne Thompson. And I knocked on about 2,500 doors for Dwayne in his upset victory in 2016 for State House 96, just a little southeast of me.
And that was the only campaign that had a contested. That was the only contested campaign that a Democrat won the last election cycle. Am I correct?
Absolutely, and we did it because Dwayne, put in the hard work. He knocked on about 6,000 doors himself. I knocked on about 2,600 doors as well. And what I discovered was what I do for my vocation is to listen to people and try to communicate them and find out what the problems, and then try to figure out, to communicate with Dwayne what we should be doing about those problems. And that was basically what I do for a living.
Cheaper psychiatrist.
Yeah. Well, beyond that, it's beyond psychiatry. It's really dealing with problems with all those other problems that we talked about earlier. So if you had told me, 4 or 5 years ago I'd be a candidate for office, I would have told you were crazy. But it just sort of evolved towards that.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Medicaid expansion in Tennessee and why you feel that's important. I know that's one of the reasons why one of the key reasons why you wish to run. So tell us a little bit more about the Medicaid expansion and why it's important and what you see going on in the moment.
To me, it's one of the most important issues confronting Tennessee today. Over the last about 8 years, our state has been offered over $5 billion to expand Medicaid. And not doing so, not taking a look at $3.5 to $3.6 million per day, does not just negatively affect the working poor, that it would folks that live within about 25,000. And it doesn't just affect the 290,000 people who would be covered. 40,000 are veterans of the United States military in the state of Tennessee. It means that every time that you and I are paying federal taxes, we're not receiving the benefits from those taxes in Tennessee. So you'd think that a Republican state legislature that we have now would not like their federal taxes subsidized for better health care for states like California and Michigan and New York. But that's what we're doing right now. It's the antithesis of being financially responsible. And so what it's led to, as of last month, 11 rural hospitals have shut down across the state of Tennessee. And it upsets me so much because not only is that sort of the death of a community, not having a local healthcare provider, but I can't help but think of all the people who would survive if they had a hospital within 45 minutes. And instead they're going to die. People are going to die. And lastly, let's get down to, we talked about the really emotional, visceral reason why I'm for accepting these tax dollars. But something very personal. I pay too much, and I think probably the majority of us pay too much on monthly health insurance premiums. And what it's been proven to happen is that states that accepted these federal funds, and by the way, we already paid these taxes, we just need to take them back, is that on average, states that accepted these federal funds, the average person spends about 9% less on monthly health insurance premiums.
And that's because that Medicaid expansion was the third leg of the stool that was supposed to stabilize the healthcare industry, right?
Exactly.
So with the Affordable Care Act, you had requiring the insurance coverage for pre-existing conditions. You had the you had the pre-existing conditions. You had the
incentivizing,
the requiring people to have insurance. You had the pre-existing conditions requiring people to have insurance, but having that third leg, which is the Medicare or Medicaid expansion, which covers those people that can't afford or barely can afford their insurance.
And in that coverage gap.
That's right, and that was going to stabilize the insurance industry because now these hospitals don't have to make up the money from you and I when they have to treat somebody that shows up, with a serious injury.
And it's something I talk to. I don't just talk to folks who are leaning Republicans. I talk to independents. I talk to folks who normally vote Republican. And a lot of folks, when we talk about this, they hear Affordable Care Act, and they say, well, that's just going to be awful. And because I understand it was not a perfect system from the federal level. But now, in 2018, This money has been offered to us not only under the Obama administration, but now underneath the Trump administration. And something I've been quoted on, and I'm going to double down on this idea, is that I don't care from which political party is offering money to the citizens of the state of Tennessee. If it makes our health care more affordable, you take the damn money.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, as Carl Dean says, it's just common sense, right?
It's common sense. It makes me a little bit more viscerally angry, and so I'm willing to throw in a few extra words there.
That's right. It's on YouTube. They heard worse. Talk about a little bit about the predatory lending. This one hits home for me. I've had family members that got caught in this and just could not get out. So let's talk a little bit about that and what you want to do to stifle that cycle of debt.
Well, so you know folks who have dealt with this personally. So can you kind of speak to us about what happened, because and how what happened?
You know, I mean, in one case it was just one of those classic ones you always hear. It was a car. You know, you have one car. Yeah, here in Tennessee and the surrounding, or here in the Mid-South, if you don't have a car, you don't work, period. Right. So they had to get the car fixed. They were broke. They had just enough to make it through the end. So they did the title loan thing. Mm-hmm. And of course, they barely made it as it is. So now they had a choice between either not eating or paying the title loan. And then, you know, how that starts rolling. So they go back and they pay just the minimum. And then
which by the way, only for the majority of those contracts, only goes to pay the interest.
That's right. Absolutely.
And not
the principal.
Not the principal.
It's like the old movies where, you know, if you can't pay the thing on the gambling debt, you know, they roll it into the principal and then keep on going, and that's.
So in the state of Tennessee, you know, we basically have just not regulated these businesses at all. And for those who don't know exactly what we're talking about, payday lenders, you see them. I live right off of Summer Avenue, and they are just nonstop up and down. But these businesses can legally charge up to 450% in the state of Tennessee.
Right.
Now, I have a lot of folks, friends of mine, who say, well, look, think of it this way. Those businesses are loaning to folks who would not normally be able to receive a loan from a traditional bank. I understand that. And I understand that if you are making a loan to someone that is less likely to be able to pay and pay on time, you have to charge more in interest rates and for a business to survive. But 450% isn't it? Yeah. That's predatory. It's usury. And if I have my Bible handy, I can tell you which verses specifically talk about how that is a horrific sin. I advocate for regulation of these businesses for a few reasons. First and foremost, for the personal reasons why you brought up. And I've known so many folks in my industry who've made the mistake of taking these loans. But also, I know I grew up right over here on Bartlett, right? And Keith McDonald, who's the mayor of Bartlett, who I respect very much, has intentionally stated that Bartlett does not want these kind of lenders in the city of Bartlett. Now, part of that, I'm sure, is because he's a good man, and I respect that. But part of it is because of how negatively payday lenders affect property values. If you think of with the exception of a dump or a prison, a payday lender on your block means that your neighborhood's not heading in the right direction, right? And so I applaud Mayor McDonald for keeping those businesses out of Bartlett. But what happens is, if we don't regulate these on a state level or a county level or a city level, they saturate Memphis. We have the most in Tennessee. We have the second most per capita behind Jackson, Tennessee, and it's just bad for everyone.
Well, it's kind of like the fireworks. Everybody has to go down to Canada Road to buy because we're not allowed to have them in Shelby County, but everywhere else. So it's kind of the same thing. So they're going to set up around Bartlett where they can't go into Bartlett.
Right.
So that's
so where I grew up right off of Sycamore View, which is literally on the other side of the park, and the little strip mall that I used to ride my bike to buy my baseball cards, because I'm a huge Cardinals fan. I always was, and I always will be. What used to be a baseball card stop, and this is right outside of Bartlett, is now a payday loan lender, a tax service, a liquor store, and a dry cleaner. Now you try to help out your neighborhood as much as you can, and a mayor can say not in his borders, but people can set up right across the way. My thing about predatory lenders is this. I know it when I see it, and I know an excessive interest rate when I hear it.
Yeah.
So one, I want laws stating that you can actually be paying towards the principal and not the not just to the interest. I want to see a maximum interest rate of 100% in the state of Tennessee. That is still far too high. But when you see this, I truly believe that yes, those businesses are not going to all go away, but you're not going to see 10 of them on a city block, because there's a reason for that service to exist, right? But it does not. There's no reason why we need 10 of them in a square city block.
absolutely.
And what's really worrying for me, I am running to represent a good chunk of area of northern Cordova, south of Highway 64. And you don't think of payday lenders on Highway 64, but last time I counted, there were 6 of them. They're following us, folks.
Yeah.
And we work hard to try to have something to send our kids to good schools, and just don't want blight, following you.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's the key, right? You can keep it out of Bartlett. You can keep it out of Germantown. You can keep it out of Collierville. You can keep it out of Lakeland, but you can't keep it out of everywhere. So it's going to exist. So we might as well deal with the problem together instead of
and deal with it not just for the sake of property values, but deal with it for your friends and your family.
Absolutely.
And the folks that I know who were desperate and needed to have maybe a step towards financial literacy. I'd love to also see something as opposed to just fine print about what this loan will actually cost you in the course of a week, 2 weeks, etc.
Something in plain English.
Absolutely,
So,
yes.
But to sum it all up is you may live in an area that doesn't have a payday loan, but you have people in your area that rely on that service. So just because you keep it out of your borders doesn't mean you keep, that problem goes away. That those people are still affected, and those people are still affected in your neighborhood, and they're your neighbors. And as that's love thy neighbor is one of those. What didn't you understand, right?
Yeah. By faith, yes.
Yeah.
So yes, exactly.
Okay. So your motto for your campaign is serve 901.
Serve the 901, yes.
Yeah, serve the 901. What would you? Can you kind of explain how that goes beyond the topics we've already discussed?
Beyond the fact that I serve people for a living,
Yeah.
there is something that's been very lacking in local government for decades, and I think part of it is due to these oddly gerrymandered districts. It's not just a state representative. Very rarely, I think Blaine, represents just most of Cordova and a little bit of Germantown, right? But he can actually say this is kind of round area. But
that was one that the Republicans thought was safe, and they didn't gerrymander. Go
Right.
ahead. I'm sorry.
So with these oddly gerrymandered districts, it's unless you really do research, it's difficult to know who actually represents you. And if you do your research, that person is normally a two-dimensional piece of mail, specifically at the level that I'm running. So my campaign, I've already knocked on over 2,000 doors, and volunteers have knocked on roughly 10,000 more.
Oh wow!
And what I do is I talk about, I bring up 2 or 3 issues, but first thing that I want to do is ask them what issues are important to you. And sometimes it's education, sometimes it's healthcare, sometimes they even bring up the payday lender. But we talk, and we talk like folks who, in a civil manner, in a way that people should do about politics, but we've gotten away from. And depending on the way that conversation goes, I no matter what, I still hand them my card, and on it has my phone number, it has my email address, and I say, look, we're not going to agree on every single issue, but I need to hear from you when we disagree. And I just think that that's something that's been lacking. That sort of stewardship from local representatives. I try to attend as many neighborhood watch meetings and community associations that I can. If y'all know of any ones that I'm missing, please let my campaign know, and I'll be there as soon as possible. But to me, the whole idea of running for office, it's not because I wanted to see my name on a yard sign. It's because I genuinely want to represent people, and I genuinely want to serve them, and I genuinely want to, in an honest way, try to make their lives a little bit better.
Understand. So I got to ask this because you mentioned the yard sign. How awkward was it the first time you saw your name on the yard sign? Was it exciting, or was it just like, wow, I can't believe that?
I still, part of me still doesn't believe I'm running for office. I thought I was going to, every elections season, just find a really good candidate and just go out there and knock on doors. So it was a little bit of a shock to me. But now that I've done it, and now that I have just some amazing volunteers, an amazing staff, campaign staff, I couldn't be prouder. And it's not just my name that when I see that, I see everyone who's ever volunteered, everyone who cared enough to knock on a door or make a phone call, or even just state, I got you, or I'm going to vote for you.
So as we start to wrap this up, tell everybody, if they want to get involved in your campaign or they want more information, how is it best to get that information?
So there's several ways. Our website, including some more issues that we talk about, is at www.allancreasy.com.
And that's on the bottom of your screen.
Absolutely. You can check our Facebook, and it's just facebook.com / serve the 901. And then we're also on Twitter and Instagram, and both under serve the 901.
Awesome. Okay, so I've got, and I'm a geek, and I love this bit, so I'm going to ask you a bunch of minor questions, just off the ball questions.
All right.
I say pass or answer them, they're just going to be off the wall questions. Such as, I already know your favorite baseball team is the Cardinals. We'll have to disagree with that.
Okay. Well, see, I growing up actually, I'm in love, and plan to marry a woman who moved to Tennessee from Chicago as a representative of the Methodist Church. So we have the Cardinals Cubs thing going on.
That's
but
a good woman. You need to hold on.
I don't worry. I'm working very hard to do so. But growing up, my two favorite players were Ozzie Smith on short and Ryan Sandberg on second. I don't know if that means I'm not willing to take a stand enough, but it was as someone who was interested in that idea of defense, seeing them every All-Star game was phenomenal for me.
So, okay. Marvel or DC?
I love Marvel. I know DC is a little bit grittier, but Marvel kind of always had the idea of things could get better, and so I like that optimism.
Gotcha. Paper or plastic?
Paper, because better for the environment and it's easier to recycle.
Yeah. Okay, favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. I had another one. Oh, original series or next generation?
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine. Awesome.
So
Okay.
we're going far
that.
here.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Favorite Star Wars movie?
The first three.
First, the original.
The original series.
The original.
Yeah,
Episode 4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
I would have said the same thing, except after Rogue One. Rogue One really is my favorite. That's okay. I can't think of any more right now, but thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and we'll hopefully see you. Hopefully, I'll be able to talk to you as the state representative, not just a candidate, sometime in the future.
I would really appreciate that.
Okay, everybody, remember, vote if you're in the District
97.
97. If you're in District 97, make sure you vote Allan Creasy, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Once again, I'd like to thank Allan for taking the time to sit with us and have a great conversation. Our next guest is Jonathan Ealy, with Executive Director of OutMemphis. Hi, everyone. We're back in the Victory, Tennessee field office in Bartlett, who has graciously given us this space. And we're talking with Jonathan Ealy. Jonathan Ealy. One of these days on this podcast, I'm going to get a name right the first time. Jonathan Ealy. I did it again, didn't I? No, I got it right that time. Okay, Jonathan Ealy with OutMemphis. He is here to talk to us a little bit about his organization and the important work they do. And we decided to have OutMemphis come on with Memphis Pride Fest coming up this Saturday.
Yeah.
Coming up this Saturday.
Absolutely.
And we're excited. The Shelby County Democratic Party is going to be out there, and we're excited to join in the festivities. So, Mr. Ealy or
yes.
Jonathan?
Either one.
Jonathan. Okay, Jonathan, would you tell us a little bit about your organization?
Sure. So, as Brian said, I'm Jonathan Ealy, and I am the interim executive director and the chairman of the board of directors for OutMemphis, which is the LGBTQ community center for the Mid-South. We were formerly known as Memphis Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and in 2016 we changed our name to OutMemphis. We wanted a name that more reflected who we were or who we are and who we serve. Mm-hmm. So we represent everybody, although we specialize in LGBTQ matters. We're kind of a center for everyone. We're an organization for all. We have the mission of empowering, educating, advocating, and connecting people of LGBT identity here in the Mid-South, as Memphis and the Mid-South. We're the only kind of place with a brick and mortar setup with a full-time staff within 200 miles in any direction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's very important to know because a lot of times people assume, oh, well, you guys are just this little place on Cooper and you're not doing really a lot of things, or it's just that little place with that big flag out front that we see all the time. And it's really a very important place because sometimes there are places and things where people need to congregate and meet who are of like minds, and we serve as a kind of a hub for that.
Excellent. And that's important,
yeah,
especially in a red area like we are now.
Absolutely.
To have a place where people can go and feel safe.
Absolutely. So yeah, OutMemphis is definitely a safe space for everyone, and it's a place that we encourage people to come and learn about ourselves, learn about who we are, and even learn about themselves in the process.
And why do you feel that this is, other than we're in a red area, what makes this organization so important?
It's really funny we were talking about this because I was discussing this with a colleague the other day, and their take was, well, you've got marriage equality now, so everything's solved, right? Everything's good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yes. While that was a huge thing for the gay community, it was very important to get marriage equality, and we are super excited about having it. That was not the end of the fight. Yeah. There are still places where it's illegal to adopt kids as a gay couple. It's illegal to, you can still be fired just by coming out or even getting married. Our organization, while we advocate for a lot of the national issues, it's very important for people to have access to information and people on a local level. It's very important for us to be able to get together and commune and just have a place where people are like you. Like I said, it's very, very important for that.
Absolutely, yeah. And what programs do you provide? Because I looked on your website and there was a ton of them.
Yes, so we by advocating, educating, communicating, and empowering people, we do that through a large series of programs. Mostly they are peer-led support groups for different groups of people in our community. We do have one that's for LGBT women of color. We have one for trans women of color. We have one for female to male transitioning people. We have youth groups like our PRISM and JNQ groups that are for kids who are just coming out. We have support groups for parents who want a place to talk about their child just came out and they don't really know what to do. And on the other side, we have a lot of sexual health things. We have testing people. We have education and advocacy work going on as far as like laws and things of that nature. We have a team of people that are working on that. I am very fortunate to say that OutMemphis has an amazing staff, like very qualified professionals. And it's not hyperbole at all. It's one of those places where we're so fortunate enough to have people who, if there's a place out in the country that wants to implement a program or they want to find out how a program is running so successfully, they call our staff.
Oh, wow.
They call the people here in Memphis, to say, hey, we're out in Texas, or we're up in Ohio, or we're out in middle America, and we want to create this program, and we learned that you guys have been doing it and doing it well. How can we be like you? They're often called to speak at conferences about the things that they do here. They're often awarded. We just actually celebrated Kayla Gore, who is our trans specialist, and she was awarded the 2018 James Award from Planned Parenthood for her work that she does with them. So like I said, it's an amazing group of people, and I am so fortunate to work with them with this.
So in your staff, what they're professionals, obviously.
Absolutely.
There.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of professionals do you have
counselors? Do you have just somebody to welcome people? Or
Well, yeah,
what
so
are the-
we have a
what's-
wonderful, in addition to our
So-
wonderful staff, we have volunteers that usually man the reception desk, and they're the ones who welcome people. We do have facilitators that are a part of the conversation as well, and a lot of them are just, community members. Our staff itself, we have directors of programming, and we also have specialists and managers of those programs, and they handle the way that all of that kind of works.
Gotcha. Okay, so one thing that's really stressful time, especially for young LGBT, and even older LGBT. I'd almost argue older ones have a little bit more stress when they come out. And so what would you recommend for people who are thinking of coming out? And do you have a program that would help them specifically kind of transition that?
So, like you mentioned, the myriad of programs and services that we offer, it's just kind of difficult to try to remember all of them. But I'm glad you brought up this question because it helps us talk about two of our really amazing programs that are kind of working right now. One is the Metamorphosis Project, which is a drop-in shelter for LGBTQ homeless youth who are 18 to 24. We've learned that the national statistic is about 40% of the people who are on the streets who are youth identify as LGBTQ, and it is important that we as a community of people recognize that it's still a situation where someone will say, I'm gay, and then their parents will say, get out, and they literally are left with just the clothes on their back, with nowhere to go, with no kind of means or place to be or anything. So we are in the process now of, we've secured a lot of funding, and we are happy to announce that we will soon be breaking ground on this project. On the other side, we have an expanding senior services program that is coming on. We've learned that, thankfully, gays are living longer, and that's a great thing. But the problem with that would be, so you've lived your life, and you've lived it for this long time, and something happens, either your partner dies or you become ill, and you don't have any dependents or anything, so you're going into a nursing home. And a lot of those people are being forced back into the closet just because of that way the demographic and the way that particular age group works. They may not be as open or affirming as other people who are much younger than them. So we partnered with a lot of different organizations here in the city, as well as just national organizations. We have a wonderful program called We Care Calls, and it's a thing where we have people that call seniors and check in on them once in a week. Because sometimes it gets lonely, and it's an opportunity for them to have a conversation, have a dialogue with someone, and just know that someone's thinking of them at that point. But to answer your question about what they could do, I mean, our center has a lot of wonderful resources. Our website is www.outmemphis.org.
And that'll be on the bottom of the screen.
And we'll have a lot of amazing resources there. There are a lot of links and things that you can click to find out more information. And then you can also just email us from that website, and someone would get in contact with you.
And phone number?
Gosh.
Do you have a phone number?
We do have a phone number, and I have not yet learned it, even in my answer.
It will be. We'll find it out, and it will be on the bottom of the screen. And for you audio listeners, I'll be sure to add that in the end. So, all right. I still don't know. I've worked for my company for 5 years. I couldn't tell you my office number to save my life.
Well, I've been in this interim role for about 2 months now, so I've just learned the address. I'm still learning the phone number.
I understand completely. Okay, so we asked you here because of Mid-South Pride.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your involvement in Mid-South Pride. And to be honest, the reason I reached out to you guys is because I noticed that all the meetings were at your place, and I thought that I should have put two and two together that y'all were just a community site that they could meet, but
yeah. So Mid-South Pride is it's kind of run by a group called Mid-South Pride, and they're in their 15th year of putting this on, and it's going to be an amazing celebration. They have moved it from Church Park to Tom Lee Park, and it's going to be this weekend on Saturday the 29th. It's going to be super, super fun. I think it starts at 8 o'clock that morning. There's going to be a myriad of people out there, a lot of different organizations and groups. It's going to be a lot of fun. OutMemphis will have a tent there. We'll have our booth set up with all of our information. We'll be selling items like our great T-shirts and merchandise that we just recently had done. I will be giving an address at some point during the day just to kind of rile the troops and get everybody together. And then there'll be a parade starting at 1 o'clock. And all of the organizations will get together. And the great thing is, I think the parade starts at Church Park and it'll come down Bill Street all the way to the river. Awesome. So it's going to be really a lot of fun. And in years past, it's been one of those particular events where it's been kind of building support, and more people keep coming each year. So I'm hoping that this year will be like record numbers for them.
Awesome. And why is an event like that so important?
Because it's visibility. It's visibility. It's one of those things where a long time, there was that statistic of 1 out of every 10 people is gay. So 10% of the population is gay. And you're like, okay, well, or they identify as LGBT or T or Q. And a lot of times we go, oh no, well, I don't know anyone like that. Or, no, those are just made up numbers. So it's great for a place for people to come and be visible, to be together, to kind of be energized and galvanized to do something. Part of my speech, and I'll go ahead and give you guys kind of a spoiler alert, will be kind of a call to action. We are fortunate enough to be in a place where we have some strides. We've made some strides, but with this current administration, I mean, everything that we've worked for in the past 5 to 7 years could definitely be taken away with not only just Supreme Court nominee or the sign of a pen or an executive order, anything. So it's very important for us not to become complacent, and it's really, really important for us to remember that, although we did get this one big thing, and we've had several big things happen in the past, the fight still continues.
Yeah, it's kind of like people that say racism is over.
Absolutely, like whatever that post-racial is, I'm like, I don't understand what that is.
Yeah, no, it's not. No, exactly. So, okay, so for allies, LGBT allies, people who are not gay, but want to get involved in the gay community because they know it's important. Do you have any programs for that?
Oh, absolutely. So the great part about being OutMemphis is we want everyone to be out. We even want our allies and our advocates to be out. Coming out is a very important part of someone who is a part of this community. It's when they announce it to people, this is who I am, this is how I identify. And we want our straight allies to do the same thing. That's part of the reason why we, changed the name. We want everyone to be out. We want everyone to live their life in a way that is authentic and exciting. And we want our allies to be able to tell people, yes, although I am not a person who is a member of this community, I do support them. I am here for them, and I believe that they deserve, fair and equal training and rights and everything like that.
Well, it's important for allies to come out.
Absolutely.
Because there are a lot of communities where even if you're an ally, it's risky. I'm a Catholic, and you know how that is, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So having more people come out and saying, hey, I'm okay with that,
right,
encourages other people who are okay with it.
Absolutely.
And haven't said anything because they were worried about it.
And it was one of those situations where even back in 2016 when marriage equality was on the fence and they were having these questions about, the briefs that were coming down from people, not only the large LGBTQ organizations, but allies like the presidents, and there were other major parties and people who were part of that who were not connected to the community but saying, yes, we know that this is right and this is how this should be. And it's not fair that this subsection of people who pay taxes, who go to work, who do all of these things are not allowed all of the benefits and, to be full citizens.
Absolutely. I mean, they're not, if you're not doing anything illegal, you shouldn't be banned for
absolutely
doing
right.
Whatever you want. If
exactly.
it's not illegal, you're allowed to do it,
right.
Period. That's the way this country is. That's what it's built on.
Yes.
So, absolutely. And I asked that question about allies in conjunction with Mid-South Pride. Allies are welcome too.
Oh, everyone is welcome.
So
everybody is welcome to come out to this party. I mean, it's going to be a really, really fun time. I've been speaking with the organizers, and they've got a lot of wonderful things in store for people. They're trying out some new things this year to see for the 15th year, and I don't want to give any of their things away, but yeah, there are going to be some pretty amazing and cool situations and things that are happening. So we want everyone to come out. We want, and of course, we'll have those detractors there. We'll have those people who are there to, hold their signs and say their things. But it's really a day about love, and it's a day about acceptance and openness, and it's a day about appreciating and celebrating the diversity that's in our city and that we bring to the city, and just the richness of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so to come up, or to finish up, I know you have some events coming up. You'd mentioned the opera event that you've been involved in, and so do you have any events upcoming?
So the great thing is, so September is what we affectionately call Queer Timber, and because there's so many events that are happening, and rounding the last week here, we'll be at Pride on Saturday. We'll have our testing site, we'll have our booth with all of our information, and on the flip side, my other job is Director of Special Events for OutMemphis, and we have been in 30 Days of Opera since September 1st, where we provide a free performance of opera somewhere in the city for 30 days, and we'll actually be at Pride on the 29th for a good part of the day, and then that evening at Claiborne Temple at 7 p.m. we'll have a performance of Moving Up in the World, which was a commissioned piece from a collection of stories based on the ghost of Crosstown. So the Sears Crosstown building. Yeah.
Excellent. And do you have any other events out Memphis related that you'd like to highlight coming up for Queertober? Or should they just check the website?
Yeah, definitely just double check our website at outmemphis.org, and we send out a weekly email of things that are happening. Of course, we have our meetings that happen all the time, and there's a schedule of events there. We have opportunities to volunteer on our website, and I would be remiss as executive director if I didn't mention the opportunity to become a sustaining donor. We are fortunate enough to receive a lot of local and national and even federal funding. However, as I stated before, with the current administration, a lot of that is in jeopardy, just because it might really literally be here today, gone tomorrow. So we do want to encourage those people who live here, and everyone within the sound of my voice, basically, if you're interested in becoming an advocate for this type of work, there's an opportunity to join our website to become a sustaining donor. And I mean, as little as $10 a month can definitely help, change the lives of people who are truly, in need.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you for coming out.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming out on such short notice. Like I said, you're on our inaugural podcast, which I'm really excited about. And hopefully we'll see all of you out at Pride Memphis.
Yes.
Or Memphis Pride.
Yes.
And reach out to OutMemphis whether you're LGBTQ or you're just an ally and would like to help the community, you are welcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the close of our very first episode of A Flipside of Tennessee. A few important events that are coming up this week. If you are interested in being a poll watcher or being on the hotline for voting issues, the Tennessee Victory Coordinated Campaign is having training on Thursday, September 27th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Tennessee Victory Campaign Office at 521 South Highland, Suite 102. They will also have a poll watching and voter hotline training on Saturday, September 29th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. That one will be at the Tennessee Victory Campaign Office in Germantown at 7700 Poplar, Suite 204. The Future 901 is putting on a Get Out the Vote fundraiser Friday, September 28th from 5:30 to 7:30. Check our website or our Facebook page for more information. Of course, we are going to be out at Memphis Pride Fest September 29th at Tom Lee Park. If you want more information about Memphis Pride Fest, you can go to midsouthpride.org. Otherwise, come on out to Tom Lee Park and join us. Make sure you stop by our tent. And then finally, the very important date is October 9th is the voter registration deadline. So if you have not registered to vote, be sure you get out and you register to vote before October 9th. Well, that ends our show today. I appreciate you joining us. I hope you join us next week, where we'll have Representative Dwayne Thompson, who is running for re-election of House District 96, and Steve Mulroy of Save IRV Memphis, who will talk a little bit about instant runoff voting, why it's important and why it needs to be saved in Memphis. I'd also like to issue a special thanks to the Tennessee Victory Coordinated Campaign for allowing us to record these conversations in their office, and Jeff Etheridge, who has acted as the de facto producer and helped us line up all these great guests. So until next week, have a good day. Remember to register to vote, and when you do vote, vote blue.